Hey guys, welcome to Brickstars. In today's video, we've got something different, something a little exciting, and we're going to be combining two of our passions. That is basketball, specifically basketball design and Lego. And this is something we're always trying to do, is find different ways to combine passions, combine the things we love, kind of cross-brand things. So in this video, we're going to be creating our very own Lego basketball league, specifically castle related factions. So we've got kind of a play on the NBA logo here. Of course, this isn't the first time that Lego and the NBA have crossed paths. They did have some sets that featured this basketball arena and basketball players, and even some version of collectible minifigures, if you will. I had a couple of these growing up, and I think they're just great. They're very detailed, very realistic, and I appreciate that they kept some of the original jersey designs from the NBA teams. And like I mentioned, that's one passion of ours, is designing jerseys, designing logos. So we're going to try and do that here. So we're going to take some of the castle factions and give them their own logos, give them a brand, and even design uniforms for them. So we're going to try and work with some of the elements from different sets, minifigures, put it all together, the colors obviously, and see what we can come up with. So there's a lot to cover in this video. Of course, there's a lot of castle factions. I'm not going to say we got all of them because, you know, we very likely missed a couple, especially from the collectible minifigure series, but this gives you an idea of the ones we are going to cover, and I think I can say it's probably 90+% of them. Some of them maybe don't warrant being their own factions, but I love the design of a lot of these, so we're going to work with them. And because there's so many of them, we're only going to cover a couple in this video. So this is part one of this Lego basketball league that we're designing. You can see the ones we're going to work on in this video: the Black Falcons, Crown Knights, Evil Knight, Boar Knights, the Maltese Knights, Red Dragons, and the Black Knights. So in some cases, you'll notice we're going to rename some of these. We're going to give them either names that people use online for them, or something that just makes sense given the shield or the emblem that they use. So without further ado, the first six that we're going to cover here, and again, starting with the Black Falcons through to the Black Knights, are these six. And there they are, the main logos for each of the six. We're going to be going in through details on all of them, but again, this is just part one. So if you like this type of content, if you're interested to see how the whole league is going to look, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can follow along. This has been a large amount of effort, so we're going to try and issue these weekly, and we're going to have some polls on our YouTube and Instagram page for you guys to vote for your favorite designs, and maybe we'll have like a little playoff thing to see which team looks the best. So again, going back to the six that we're going to cover in this video, the first one we're going to dive into is the Black Falcons. One of my favorite factions, one of my favorite looking factions. We tried to do it justice. So very reminiscent of the Falcon on the shield. You can see he's got his head to the side, and there's kind of this mirror image, dual tone symmetry going on throughout with the basketball. You can see we've added some wing-like features to the text here, and we really wanted to focus it on the Falcons name. I know they're the Black Falcons, but it just works easier having a shorter name there. The wings spread open, and then touches of blue and silver throughout, which are really the colors of the Black Falcons. Some additional design elements here, and what it would look like in a branding guidelines logo sheet. So you can get a little bit of a preview of the jerseys here. We are going to go through them in detail, starting off with the home jersey. So typically in white, you can see we really wanted to make the black stand out, inspired by the new Black Falcon Knight minifigures. You can see they had a lot of this dark gray and black elements on the outside with a blue interior. And we took some of that chainmail and have it almost as a pattern in the side panels on a jersey, which sometimes teams will do. So a lot of these jerseys you're going to see, we try and make them look somewhat realistic and not go too crazy. What I like on this one is we were able to mix and match that collar to add a bit more of that mirror symmetry throughout the design. Of course, they are the Black Falcons, but they're dressed in blue, so we kept the main uniform blue for them. And I think it looks pretty sharp. It kind of gives me Orlando Magic vibes if you're an NBA fan, with the black, the blue, the gray. But I think the color balance is pretty nice on this one. And even on the alternate uniform, I think the black and blue is really sharp. A little detail we added here is some of these old Black Falcon minifigures happen to have this red waistband, so we just added a touch of red in this one. I think it gives it a bit of pop and makes it stick out. And typically in uniform design, the alternate uniform is either recolor of the home and the road, which are usually the same design, just different colors, whereas the alternate often has a different design like it does here. And then you'll see the city design is something that gets a little fun, a little creative, a little bit different. And what we've got here for the Falcons is, some of you are going to recognize it, is a focus on this wall piece that we see throughout Black Falcon sets, or at least in this set I should say. And it just very bold yellow with the black kind of Tudor style architecture. And back then the Black Falcons actually had two shields, one that was black and gray with a touch of yellow, so I thought this worked perfectly. And it's not often that we get to use yellow as a color throughout this league redesign, so I was happy to be able to use it here. And just a quick look at all four of the uniforms again, I think they work pretty well together. Each one gives a pop of color and, you know, something different, but as a brand I think they tie in pretty nicely together. And again, we're trying to follow kind of the format that the NBA does. Nike's changed things around a little bit, but typically home uniforms are white. The main color is their road uniform. They'd often have an alternate uniform that, again, is similar in design often to the home and road. And then lately, this city edition is something that Nike's been doing to, well, sell more jerseys, but also expand the brand, that do get a chance to do something different, something fun, and something unique. So next up, with the Crownies, we've named them the Crownies. They're the Crown Knights, but it just works better in logo design, and also oftentimes that's how people call them online. So we've got this very interesting badge here, very reminiscent of the Sacramento Kings logo. I love the balance of the light blue and navy here with the touch of gold, and you can see they had this checkered pattern on their shields, so nice balance there. Feature those gold and silver details, very metallic. The armor obviously for the Knights. Let's take a look at two of the sets of the Crown Knights, the Crownies. Two of my favorite sets, especially 10193, the Medieval Village. This is a classic set, beautiful set, and this is where we really saw the Crownies shine. One of the best castle factions, castle series Lego has released, in my opinion. And looking at the logo sheet, you can see very simple main logo, just play on the main logo as a secondary. And jumping into the uniforms, the home uniform features a lot of that light blue. You'll see throughout this series we've got a lot of factions with navy and different colored blues, but light blue is pretty rare, so we wanted to emphasize that here. A simple design, the sword, subtle sword detail on the side there, and that checkered light blue and navy pattern that we see from the minifigure torsos. The road uniform, a lot of light blue, which is what we wanted. Touches of navy, touches of gold. They are the Crownies, the gold crown. It works great here. And this one is very reminiscent of the Denver Nuggets. So light blue is not a very popular color in the NBA, so it's tough to stray from that, but I think it looks pretty sharp. The alternate uniform features more of that gold. We got rid of the checkered pattern just to give it some variety. and we really focused on the navy here. So you can see even the word mark and the numbers are in navy, which typically you'd have a contrasting color, but also reminiscent of the Nuggets alternate uniform for that era. And then for the city uniform, like I said, we wanted to do something a bit more crazy. So we've got a ton of checkered pattern in the actual jersey itself, and then across the chest, there's no need for a name. Everyone knows who they are. Light blue, navy blue checkered with the crown. It's the Crownies. So not much else to say there. I think the colors work pretty good here, and I think it's a pretty unique uniform, which is what we try to do. So you can see all four of them again, just like with the previous one. I think the color balance here works pretty good and is cohesive across the brand. The next one is the Boars. Now the Boars is one that we've actually named ourselves. Of course, this is in reference to this Knight minifigure from the Series 7 collectible minifigure series. He was referred to as the Evil Knight, and we didn't want to name these guys the Evil Knights because there's a lot of other knights, Lion Knights, Black Knights, and all sorts of things. So we thought the boar emblem on the shield was unique enough to name them the Boars. And of course, they feature this chubby, mean-looking boar head in the middle. And because it's more of a modern faction, again, Series 7 isn't that old of a series, we wanted the jerseys to have a bit more of a modern look to them. Looking at the home jersey, you can see it's very simple. We just have some of those details from the shield, the spikes, if you will, and very simple colors. It's just black and white with just a touch of red. Similarly on the road uniform, kept it very simple, but focused on that black color, very intimidating and very much the color of the minifigure himself. And then the alternate uniform starts to get a little bit different. In this one, we wanted to resemble a little bit of a boar. And you can see the Arkansas Razorbacks. They know that these boars have this kind of hair on their back that's very distinct. So we've got that feature throughout the uniform, both on the short legs and on the uniform top here. And because our logo featured a little bit of red and dark red, we've balanced those colors here as well. And then sticking with the Arkansas theme, I wanted to make the city uniform kind of seem more old school. Of course, the Razorbacks did something similar, and you can see the boar head here does have a very rough look to it, something that you'd expect to see in logo design from like the 30s. So a very simple design, but the cream color here kind of makes me think of, you know, Arkansas plains, that type of thing. So it's a little bit old school, but I think it works because the rest of the uniforms are so modern, so it gives it a bit of a balance. Next up, the Maltese Knights. Actually, the Knights of the Maltese Cross. And this one is cool because I love the way the text kind of fits perfectly around the logo. There's not a huge emphasis on the Maltese cross. Instead, we've got our own knight that's designed here. But the Maltese Knights are one that we've actually designed the full Lego minifigure lineup as well. So if you haven't seen that video, I think you'll like that as well. Make sure to check it out. But we've got the Maltese cross throughout the rest of their branding. So the shield, we've got a roundel here as well that features it. And you'll see by the logo sheet, we've kept the colors very simple, wanted to focus on that red and the white. We wanted to give this basketball team more of a old school, established vibe because of course this is one of the first Lego Castle factions. And on the uniforms, of course, Maltese Knights, the Maltese flag, they have the cross here on one side, which kind of is a little off balance. So that inspired us to only put this design element piping on just one side. I think it works pretty well. I did try it on both sides as well, and it worked too. But I think this is kind of cool when teams do this, and then you have a little bit of unbalance, but still a sharp design. A lot of red on the road uniform, and you see the Maltese cross there front and center. On the alternate uniform, very much Ohio State vibes with the gray and red, but I love this striping pattern that we've got here on the shorts and across here. And something we've tried to do throughout the series is not use just text for the word mark on the jersey. Something that the NBA is doing recently is using logos, which is very much more like NHL jerseys. Hockey jerseys typically just use a logo, so it's a bit simpler, but teams that have an established brand are easily identifiable that way. And for the city uniform, something bolder, we went with black. A lot of teams will also use black as kind of a color that integrates really with any design, and I think it works great here as well, a little bit more intimidating. So once we look at all 4 uniforms here, I think the color balance works. Very simple designs on the home and road, and very professional looking in my opinion. Next up, the Red Dragons. This one's a little bit different. We used the Red Dragon as a partial logo inspired by the shield of the Red Dragons. Very simple, very Asian looking in some way, which is what we wanted. And you can see very simple design on the jerseys, but we're going to get into what inspires them. On the home jersey, we've got this shield element throughout, and you can see the squares here are inspired by the torso of the Red Dragon. So we wanted to keep it very simple. We did experiment with some designs that had more squares throughout, but I think this simple look is honestly more realistic and something that we'd actually see a basketball team wear. And I wanted to keep the road uniforms limited to red and black like they did on the shield on the chest, and of course just that touch of gray to allude to the torso of the minifigure. The alternate uniform, one of my favorite designs of the whole wave, are these shorts. I think these are very cool, something I'd like to wear. They kind of have a 90s vibe to them, a little cartoony, but something different, and I could imagine the team wearing this on special game nights. And then with the city uniform, you might be wondering, well, what's going on here? Obviously, we've played with the dark red and black. It's something a little bit darker, but the Red Dragons castle set here featured their leader, this wizard. And maybe you're starting to notice it, but we've drawn inspiration from the torso of the wizard. And honestly, after designing this, I thought it looked really sharp and great, and probably the home and road uniforms could have recolors of this and work pretty well, but nonetheless, I am happy how they worked out, and I didn't want to redesign them. I do think having a little bit of that variety in the city uniform makes it stick out a little bit. And the last one in this video are the Black Knights. This one was tricky because the Black Knights had a lot going on, a lot of different colors, a lot of different design elements. So we tried to stay true to the black and gray, kind of that menacing look, and then complementing it with the blue, red, and yellow that we find throughout the Black Knights sets and minifigures. You can see we even tried to add that wing detail on this helmet to make him look more like a Lego knight. And the other design elements are just the partial logos here. You can see the shield kind of in the back, and another play on that flag there with just a simple roundel logo. Looking at the uniforms, I love these. I think they're very simple, very clean. You can see we tried to mix all the colors from the Black Knights, the black, the blue, the red, touches of yellow, and of course, as the name suggests, we wanted the focus to be on the color black. So I think this is a very sharp looking set, nothing too crazy. And with the road version, we've got that pop of red and blue, but also emphasis on the black. We didn't recolor the side panels. You can see they've stayed black, and it's a pretty sharp looking uniform, very, very rough looking. And then for the alternate, we were inspired by this guy. He kind of appears on a couple different sets, and the colors are obviously black, red, and gray. So that's been the focus of this uniform. You can see we changed the shorts logo a little bit. The gray number there kind of plays off the chest armor that this knight has. So I'm really pleased with how this one turned out. And so we've got the white, the black, the red. I think another main color of the Black Knights is blue. And in this case, we've got blue inspired by the barding from the Black Knights set. So you can see on this side, we've got a bit of that black, a bit of the red. They just kind of had the two colors, so we tried to work that in. And then you see the shape here ties in with the design on the horse barding. And of course, the waistband includes some of that yellow as well. So I think it was a challenge getting these colors to work, but I think we balanced them pretty good. And again, looking at the full set, I'm just really pleased with how this one turned out. From a design standpoint, I think this is one of my favorite of the entire series. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be designing the full basketball castle Lego League. The 6 you saw here today are just a preview and part 1 of this series. So as I mentioned, please stick around, subscribe to follow along as we go through the whole series. We'll give you a quick look at the logo sheets and uniforms once again. And let us know in the comments what you think of these. And stay tuned for the polls on our YouTube and Instagram, where again, we're going to try and see which uniform from each team do you like the most and which teams do you like the most, so we can kind of see which castle faction would make the best basketball team. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.